go ahead and we'll start with our sponge. We have about 4 minutes. So on this, there are 3 questions. This is just to see what you already know about what we're going to talk about today. So as long as you're writing complete sentences and trying your best, you'll get a green on this, right? So if you're not sure about one of them, just make your best educated guess. You guys have a little bit less than a minute to go. All right, we're going to go ahead and check sponges. Remember, just try your best on these, even if you're not sure about a couple of them. Because that's just to see what you already know. All right, so let's talk about a few of these before we get started. So number 1, what do you already know about characters? You can share with us. What do you already know about characters? All right, Rashawn, what do you know about characters?
I know that characters are a main person in a story or a movie.
Good, okay, but do you know that the main person, the main people in a story or in a movie? Good, anybody have anything to add to that? What characters are? All right, good. Number 2, what about settings? Anybody know anything about settings? What is a setting? What did you say, Rashawn?
I said I know the setting is where the story takes place in.
Okay, good. You said the setting is where the story takes place, or where it takes place. Okay, does anybody agree with that? Yeah, Carlos, you agree? All right, let's do the last one. What do you know about plot? Okay, this one might be the trickiest one. Has anyone heard of that word plot before? You've heard of it before? Okay, Carlos, did you make a guess on that, or what did you say for that one?
So plot is like a caption.
Okay, so you said you think plot is like a caption. What made you think that?
Like what I thought at the same time my head is like that it's like sentences.
Yeah.
It's a plot, but I don't know.
Okay, so you were kind of thinking about sentences and you thought the word plot, so you think it's kind of like a caption? Okay, anybody have a different idea? Thanks, Rashawn.
I said I know that it goes in order.
Okay. You know the plot goes in order, right? Good, you know the plot goes in order. Hey, has anyone heard this word in a different class before? Like not in language arts class, but in a different class, the word plot. Have you heard it before, Carlos? When? When? In elementary school? Alright, anything else? Yeah.
Like in math, we heard like line plot.
Yes, in math, when you plot something, like you have a graph, and you plot it on the graph, like you put, maybe you're plotting this, and you're saying like, that is a plot, right? So keep that in mind. When we talk about plot today, it's connected in some ways, but it's also a little bit different in language arts, the plot of something. So I like that, Rashawn, you said it happens in order, okay? So hold on to these, and we're going to look at these at the end and see if we can go back and know what these mean more when we look at the end of what we've done today. All right, we're going to go ahead and look at our learning target. So let's see. Carlos, would you mind reading learning target for us today? Let's get this out of the way. Okay?
I learned I can identify the elements of a story, characters, setting, plot.
Good, and those are the three things that were in the sponge, right? Character, setting, and plot. Okay, here's the thing. For today, we're going to be focusing on trying to get to, if you hit yellow, that means that you got it for today. Does that make sense? Because this is the first time that we've talked about this. This is our very first lesson on this. So to get to a green would be really hard. Like that would mean that you just already knew this before you came today. Does that make sense? To get to a yellow means like you understood and you got what we need to get today. Does that make sense? A red, remember a red is not bad. That just means like sometimes if we start off on a red, we know how we need to grow next. Right? So think about this as we go through what we have today. All right, remember homework is due tomorrow. So if you do not have that turned in yet, make sure that gets turned in tomorrow. All right, so if you look at what's in front of you, we have our guided notes. So on the board and the agenda, after this one, we have guided notes. And then we will do some Parker work today after we've worked on some of this together. All right, so now that we have some of our background knowledge, let's go ahead and look. So at the top of your paper, just go ahead and write your name. Okay. So if you'll notice, it says elements of fiction notes. So we have three things: the plot, the character, and the setting. Those are the three things we're going to be focusing on today. So if you didn't already know what those meant, then those are the three things that by the end you want to make sure that you're able to know what they mean and how to find those in a story. All right, so let's look at this part. The first blank is elements. Okay? It says every story has at least three parts, or elements is another word for parts: plot, characters, and setting. These elements of fiction work together to build a story. Right? So basically, what is this saying about stories? What is that saying there? Yeah, which one?
Like element needs like all three of them to make the story.
Exactly, yeah. And you need all three of those things to have a story. So think about all the good stories that you know or that you watch on a movie, right? Has anyone seen The Hunger Games? Movie? Yeah? Okay, so that's a story. Think about that. It has characters, right? The main character is who? Remember her name?
Katniss and Primo Loves.
Yes, Katniss is the main character. So, and in that story, it happens in a setting, in a certain place, and there is a plot. There's certain things that happen in the story, right? Okay, so we're going to look at what those things are called. That every story, just like Rashawn said, has to have these three things, three elements. If you don't have these things, then it's not a story. If you don't have characters, there's no story, right? If you don't have a setting, like where things are happening, there's no story. So that's what we have. Okay, before move on, let's pay attention up here. When it says elements of fiction, go ahead and underline where it says fiction. What does that mean? What is fiction? Carlos?
Like fiction, that means like, for example, in your story, fiction is like it's not true.
Good, okay. Fiction means it didn't really happen. It's not true. Okay, and Miss Germer showed me a trick before about how you can remember this. Because sometimes people get confused between those two things, fiction and non-fiction, right? If you remember that fiction starts with an F, so does this word. What's this word?
Fake.
Fake, right? This is a trick that might help you remember that. If you see fiction, you can remember fiction starts with an F, it's fake. If it's non-fiction, it would be non-fake, right? So you're right, Carlos. Fiction means that it did not really happen. It's fake. So someone made it up. They made up the story. So let's go ahead. All of these things that we're talking about have to do with fiction. So we talked a lot about argument this year, a lot about informational writing, but this is new for us to talk about fiction. All right, so number 1, this is our next blank. Okay, so it says characters are the people or animals that take part in the plot or what happened in the story. Okay? So notice it says people or animals. Has anybody ever seen a movie or read a story where the animals are characters? Yeah, Rashawn, you have?
Yes.
Do you remember what it was?
Yes. The nut job.
So okay. Did the animals talk or they were just in there?
That's what they talk.
Did you talk? Yeah, I know that there's a movie, Dr. Dolittle, where the animals, you can hear the animals talk. Or Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia. They have to talk. You know what you're thinking of? Yeah. What else, Carla?
And but you said red. You didn't say movie.
I said what?
I thought you said.
Read? Yeah, well, you can read a story or you can watch. Because really a movie is a story that you're just watching, right? Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah, it can be either reading or watching. All right, so characters are just the people or the animals. So each character's traits, actions, or words and thoughts affect what happens in the story. So characters are really important in the story because what they do, what they think, what they say, that affects what happens in the story, right? Without characters, you don't have a story. There really wouldn't be anything. Okay? Any questions about characters? No? Alright, that one I think everybody got right in this bunch. Number 2 is the setting. Okay, so the setting is the place and the time of the story. So let's go back to the Hunger Games, since everybody said they've seen that. Yeah, so where does that happen? Where does the Hunger Games happen, Carlos?
Woods.
Okay, a lot of it happens like in the woods, like when they go into that big, it's like an amphitheater, where they go into that container where they have to do the Hunger Games in that. Okay? Good, so that's the where. When does it happen? Does it happen now? Does it happen in the past? Does it happen in the future? When is it supposed to be?
In the story or
In the story, in Hunger Games.
It's the future.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the future. It's supposed to be kind of futuristic, like if this happened. Alright? So, next to this, kind of make a note, and you can put next to setting, it's the where and when. So where and when did the story happen? Okay, last one. The plot. You are welcome to read that for us, the plot?
The plot is what happens in the story, the sequence of events.
Good. The plot is what happens in the story, and the sequence of events. And that's kind of what Rashawn told us. He said it's what happens in order. When it says the sequence of events, that's what that means, right? It's what happens in order. Right? So maybe you have seen the Hunger Games, but your friend hasn't seen the Hunger Games. And they ask you, what is this movie about? Right? How would you describe it to them? And you don't have to tell me everything, but how would you tell them, like, how would you do that? What would you say if they asked you, what is the Hunger Games about? Or if they said, what happened in the movie? What would you say? You want to try it, Martha? What would you say?
A girl
Uh-huh.
that went and
Okay. So there's a girl, and she gets picked for the Hunger Games. Alright. So you might say, well, first, this is what happened. Okay, and you can say, Katniss's sister got chosen for the Hunger Games, right? That happened in the first movie.
Her sister got picked, and then she said she's going a little bit.
Exactly. So her sister got picked, and that was a problem in the story, right? That her sister got picked, and then Katniss decided that she was going to do it for her because she was so young, right?
She was like 12 or 13.
Yeah. So you say first this happened, then Katniss took her place, and you would say what happened, okay? And then you would continue to say, and then after that or next, this is what happened, right? So you're telling them what happened in the story. This is the plot. When you're saying, well, first this happens, and then this is what happened next, and you go in order, just like Rashawn said. So that would be the plot, what happened in order, in sequence of events. Okay, any questions about plot? We're going to get some more practice with this, looking at a story, so it'll make more sense the more we see examples too. Yes, Carlos?
I put first and next, right next to it.
Awesome. Good. So you're making extra notes for yourself? That's great. Alright, so just like we said before, when we said about how Katniss' sister was picked first, we said that was a problem, right? Okay, there's something that we use a different word when we talk about plot. So the problem in the story is what we call actually conflict. So plots are based on a conflict or problem that the main character faces. Okay? The plot develops, so the story keeps going next. It's called rising action. So after there's a problem, like after Katniss' sister is chosen, then the action starts, things start to happen, right? Katniss goes to the Hunger Games, she meets other characters, right? So that's the rising action. Okay, the next part is called the climax. Okay, so the turning point in the plot is called the climax. A lot of times this is the most exciting part in the whole story. Okay? It's the climax where you don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes it gets a little nerve-wracking because you don't know if she's going to make it or if she's going to survive or die in the Hunger Games. Right? It's the climax, the turning point, and the most exciting part. And we'll look at another example of that too. Alright. Last one. Falling action. So falling action leads from the climax to the, what is that word, Rashawn? We got resolution. Good, resolution. That is just the end. The resolution is just the end of the story when they wrap it up. Alright, so after the climax, the most exciting part where the story kind of turns around, then there's the falling action, and then the end is the resolution.
Yeah, I knew what resolution was because like the resolution is like I know it's in the end because it's like how they solve everything and stuff. So
Yes. Good, yeah. Is this in Spanish? Is it kind of the same? Is it kind of similar?
It's similar, but I want to see.
A little similar. Okay. So yeah, the resolution, when something is resolved, that means it's the end, right? If something gets resolved, the problem is resolved, that's the resolution. Good, Carlos. Exactly. How do you say? Solution.
No, that's solution. That's a solution.
Ah, but it's the same root word, right? Resolution and solution. Good. All right. Okay, we're going to look at one example of this. All right, so here's what we'll do. Since we have such a small group today, how about?
Oh, there's two.
Yeah, how about we'll just read the story together. So let's see. Rashawn, if you'll move over here next to Carlos and Garsville. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be reading a short story. And I want you to notice, they show you these things next to it. Alright, but this is what you do. As you read it, I want you to be underlining. Underline things that you see about the character, important things that they use to describe the characters in the story. Alright, so underline any details that you see about the characters. You're looking for what the characters said, what they did, what were they thinking. Alright, so that's what you're going to be looking for when you read. Make sense?
Yes.
Alright, let's take 5 minutes to think we need.
Can we choose like me first and from my head?
Yeah, you can choose if you want.
Go first.
If you want to all read it by yourself first and then talk about it, or if you want to take turns reading.
This is part two.
I'll
Let's
read
say
it.
2 minutes, okay?
First, second. No, first, second, third.
I'm second?
No, third. Okay. You go first. Or do you?
Like the first sentence or first paragraphs? No, 2 paragraphs.
Do you want me to read first?
Yeah.
One afternoon, a girl named Red walked in into the city to talk soap, to take soap on her sick grandmother.
Huh?
You know the episode?
No, no, I don't. Alright, what's more at?
She.
No, it's
Okay.
over here.
She's
She suddenly heard a barking sound behind her.
They turned around and saw a dog start staring at her.
She was scared of dogs, so she started to walk faster.
The dog followed her.
How am I going to get rid of this dog?
What should I do? Riding Red wondered.
The dog kept following Red. Hold on. I don't even know what was the period because like this one.
I know, it's kind of hard to see with the copy, but you got it. The dog is following red, there's a period.
Then he started to whine.
Suddenly, she remembered the soup in her hands.
She sat down the soup. I almost said soup, and the dog ate it up.
After he finished, and he came up to her.
She stood still, not moving. Then he licked her foot and how do you say that? What was it?
And wagged his tail.
Wagged his tail.
Oh,
Wagged.
right.
Wagged his tail.
What? I didn't know either. What monster? Oh, she realized what he had been hungry and might be lost.
She read his tail.
The address was right next to her grandmother's apartment, so Red continued to her grandmother's with the dog following her.
Good, awesome job. Okay, so now that we've read through, go back again and see if you can underline who are the characters in the story.
Red
Red
Okay.
and the dog.
and
Good.
grandmother.
So go through and underline some things that you see about Red, about you said the dogs and
They're
the
already underlined.
yeah, some of it's already underlined for you, but it's showing you something different. So if you see something else that talks about the two characters, go ahead and underline it.
I can't believe it. I thought it was like. I was
Really?
wrong.
Yeah, when if you talk about a dog wagging its tail, you say wag. Okay, let's kind of go through this together. So what are some things, first of all, what are some things that we see about the characters in this? Sean?
The dog kept following Red.
Good, the dog kept following Red. All right, where did you see that? In the first paragraph?
No, the second paragraph.
The second one, okay. So it says, here you go. The dog kept following Red, right? Anything else? What about the other characters? Yes, Garth?
Her grandmother.
Okay. So another character is her sick grandmother. Which sentence is that in? Is it in the first paragraph?
Yes, the first one, that's where.
Okay. All right, what else? One more character. Get it, Garth. So we talked about Carlos, the dog, and the grandmother. Anything else? Is there any more characters?
Did you say Carlos the dog?
No. I said Carlos, we talked about the dog, the grandmother, what else? Rashawn?
The owner.
Okay. Alright, let's read the first sentence again. One afternoon, a girl named Red walked into the city to take soup to her sick grandmother. She suddenly heard a barking sound behind her. Right? So we underlined the grandmother, we underlined the dog. Who's the other main character here?
Soup.
Yeah.
No, not soup. Remember, a character, let's look up here.
Who's he?
Character has to be a person or animal that takes place in the story.
So,
We're missing one.
really?
Her.
Can you read
You ever seen the first, right? Vivian?
Right.
Read it again. One afternoon, a girl named Red walked into the city to take soup to her sick grandmother.
Grandmother.
We underlined grandmother. Who else?
I'm sick now.
Yeah.
Girl named Red.
Is that what you're gonna say, Rashawn? What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say a city.
Okay.
It's the place.
Hold on to that. We'll talk about what that one is. Okay, Yaroslav, you said a girl named Red. Go ahead, underline that on your paper too. A girl named Red walked into the city. All right. So all those that we just underlined, those are the characters. Okay, now Rashawn, what did you say about? You just said something else.
I say the city because it's where the story takes place.
Okay, and what is that called? The where the story takes place. What's that called?
Setting.
The setting. All right, that's the setting. So let's circle that one where it says into the city. All right, we're gonna circle the setting. What about the when? Do we know when this is happening? Is there anything that tells us when?
When?
The when, yes. So the Rashawn is it? I think it tells us when.
When?
When? Like when did it happen?
Oh, I thought you said when.
When did it happen? Carlos, just look at here. See if you see the
Oh,
when.
When? Oh, I got it.
Okay, you see it? Carlos, do you see it? Okay, the article, when does it happen?
One afternoon.
Yes, one afternoon a girl is doing that. So we can circle one afternoon. That's the setting, the when and the where. Make sense, Carlos?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Notice they tell us the other parts. They show us where the conflict happens. And remember, we said the conflict is the what? What is the conflict in our notes? You got one?
The plot.
Not the plot. What does it say? Conflict is the
Problem.
problem. All right. So they show us, underlined here, she was scared of dogs. They show us what the problem was, right? Okay. Why would that be a problem? If you're walking and you see a dog and you're scared of dogs, why is that a problem, Carlos?
Because you're going to get bit. You think you're going to get bit.
Exactly. You think you might get bit by the dog. So this is the problem in the story, the conflict. All right. Remember, the conflict starts the action. That's what I like. Okay. It starts the action. So here is the rising action right here, right? And they show us this too. And it's like you're going to have to do this by yourself, so make sure you're getting what we're saying on this. Okay? In parts. Am I going too fast? Okay, I'm going to stop there for a second. So far we talked about the setting, the characters, alright? What was the conflict again, or the problem here for Sean?
She was scared of dogs.
Exactly, she was scared of dogs. Okay? Then after the problem, it starts the rising action, where the action starts happening in the story. Okay? Finally, we have the climax, which, what do we say the climax is again? If you look back in your notes, what is the climax? Carlos?
Turning points.
Okay, it's the turning point in the story. We said also it can be the most exciting part, where you don't know what's going to happen. Okay? And the resolution we said was just the end.
I
Right?
found the climax.
You found what?
The climax.
Okay, you found the climax? Where's the climax?
After he finished, she came up to her. She stood still, not moving.
Yes. Then he licks her foot and wags his tail. Why is this the climax? What's happening here in the story? Why is that the climax? What's happening here?
She didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. She did not know what was going to happen. Because the dog, what could the dog have done?
Bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have bit her. He could have, she didn't know if he was friendly or not. So this is the
But
climax.
she's a little girl.
Yes, it says what
You would have swallowed her.
a girl named Red, right? Alright, so it is 1:06. So we have about 15 minutes to start doing a few of these things. What you're going to be doing with your partner is going to be working with another story to kind of do what we just did. But this is an example of something called a plot diagram. Okay? Do you guys want to keep working as a whole group?
Yeah.
Yes.
That sound good? Alright, since Einar's not here today.
Yes.
Alright, so look at what you just got. This is called the plot diagram. You remember how you said that instead of a map, you plot certain points into that? Right?
Yes.
So if you look at this on your paper, this could look like it was something that you plot in maps, right? If there was points of the story, like this is the first point, the conflict of the story, and then you have the climax of the most exciting part. You see this too? Right? And then it goes all the way down. These are the points in the story. So that helps you remember that if you're plotting what happens. Okay, what do we say the problem is called again? Yes,
The conflict.
the conflict. So was this the conflict? A dog was behind Red and she was scared of dogs?
Yes.
Yes. So we're going to write that there, conflict. This is just your example, your exemplar that you will be using to help you when you do your own. Alright, what is it called after the conflict? When things start building up in the story? What's that called?
Rising action.
Rising action.
I got a question.
So this is a rising action. Yes, Marla?
Can we do like a challenge? I don't know when though, but try to do these without even looking at it like that.
We can also do that. Like kind of, you mean like a quiz?
Yeah, without looking at these.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
also do this. Alright, not today, but if we do this another day. So conflict, rising action. What is the turning point of the story, the most exciting point called? What is that called? The most exciting point or the turning point? Yes.
Climax.
You got it. Climax. That's going to be up here. Alright. And then finally, what is the very end of the story called when they wrap everything up? The very end.
I'm gonna do it without looking at resolution.
You got it. Resolution. That's the one you said that reminded you of another word. Resolution. Okay? Alright, so this example is to help you, because what you'll be doing is you'll be reading another story, and you'll have to be doing this where you say what the conflict was in the story, what was the rising action, what was the climax, and what was the resolution. Alright, last part, look on the right here. This is just the list of our characters, right? We said it was a girl named Red, and then we chose the dog. Hey, I didn't choose the grandmother. Why do you think I didn't choose the grandmother?
Because we don't talk about her work, we don't talk about her work.
Yeah, because in the story, unless we're raising hands, but you got it right. In the story, the grandmother doesn't really do anything. It just mentions her, but it doesn't say she did anything or she said anything. Right? So we said a girl named Red and a dog. Right? These are notes about the characters. You have the words or thoughts, and then the actions, what did they do. Okay, and if you notice, I use my quotation marks to show in the story what happened when we underline it. And then finally, the setting, we said it was one afternoon and into the city. Okay?
Yeah.
Any questions about this? Does it make sense?
Yes.
So far? Alright. Okay, so go ahead and turn to the back. Look at your next page and turn to the back. It should look like this.
This is long.
Okay? It's a little bit longer, but it's not too long. It's just one page. So what you'll be doing is you'll be reading this one, alright? And then you will be doing the same thing as in your example that we did. So what I would do first is I would read it either with your partner, with your group, or you can read it alone if you decide to do it that way.
Okay.
Okay, and then decide who are the characters, what is the setting. If we're going to set the timer just so that we have enough time at the end. If we do not get finished today, then we'll be able to finish tomorrow. What?
Now I know nothing. Something.
Your question?
Okay.
Okay.
I know why it follows you now.
Okay. Yes, yes.
Can you read?
Huh?
Can you read?
No.
No, I want it to be together. Yes.
I was asking can I read first for
Yeah.
persons.
That's
That's a good
perfect.
idea. You guys can do that. Alright, so if you want 11, I'll set the timer for about 10 minutes. Okay, so grab your phone.
One day, a poor boy who was
We reading the 66.
one day a
You
poor
wanna read
boy
one?
who was stealing goods from door to door to pay his way through school found he had only one dime left and he was hungry.
Maybe do. It's supposed to.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to read. Oh, you do? Because you do really everything these things. Right here now, right? Then I think right? And I
No,
think
no.
She
He
decided.
he what?
Decided.
decided.
What was it?
Is she gonna?
Oh,
Right here.
right.
He
I thought
decided.
you read the whole
No,
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, read the whole thing.
What? Okay. He decided he would ask for a meal at the next house. However, he lost his ever when a lovely young woman opened the door. Instantly of a meal. He asked for a drink of water. She thought he looked hungry, so she brought him a large glass of milk. He drank it slow and then asked, "How much do I owe you?"
I ain't that.
You don't owe me anything," she replied. Mother thought us never to accept payment for a promise.
Okay, also, Rashawn, let's stop there for just a second. Sorry for this. Who are the characters that we know about so far? Can we underline anything?
That poor boy.
Okay, so poor boy, can we underline that?
And a young, lovely young woman.
Good, and a lovely young woman. Alright, so let's remember that as we're reading, thinking about what happens with these characters. Okay, awesome, thank you.
Then I thank you from my heart. He said, as Howard Kelly left the house, he not only, what?
He not only felt,
He not only, what? That sounds weird.
That's over.
He felt stronger physically, but his faith in God and man was strong. Also, he had been ready to give up and quit. Years later, that young woman became critically ill. The local doctors were baffled. They finally sent her to the big city, where I was like, wow, take that. Where they called in specialists to study her rare disease. Dr. Howard Kelly was called in for the consultation.
yeah, you got it, consultation.
When he heard the name of the town she came from, a strange light filled in eyes. Your turn to read and introduce.
Where we at?
Rashawn, this part. Look.
Immediately.
Wait, read this part, Rashawn. Oh, it's some. Whoa, let the part.
Okay.
Immediately he rose and went down the hall of the hospital to her room,
Dress,
dressed in his doctor gown. He went in to see her. He recognized her at once. He went back to the consultation room, determined to do his best to save her life. From that day, he gave special attention to the case.
After a long struggle. Wait, no, it's Rashawn's turn.
okay.
After a long struggle, the battle was won. Dr. Kelly requested the business offer to pass the fine bill to him for
Approval.
approval. He looked at it and then wrote something on the edge of the bill and said to her when she confronted to open it, for she was sure it would take the rest of her life to pay for it all. Finally, she looked and something caught her attention. Is that
You got it, yes.
on the side, someone had written these words: "Pay in full with one glass of milk." Signed, Dr. Howard show you.
Okay, awesome. So what happened?
I watched the video about this before. You did on Facebook. It was a video recorded in Asia, but like it was like good because like it starts with a kid. It's basically like this, a little bit,
Can you see it too? Yeah.
starts like he tries to steal something, and then like he tries to steal something, like a woman gets him and it's like, but he's stealing for medicine for his mother because she's sick. And then the man said, let her have it, I'll give him a little bit of soup too for his mom. So then, then he brought, the man came and gave it to her, to the little boy, and then he gave it to his mom, and then his mom got better, and then that little boy became a doctor.
Okay.
No, then the person that let him have the medicine and the soup and stuff,
Yeah.
he was nice, so he let him have it, and then he got sick in the hospital, and then they weren't gonna have enough money to pay it because like the man's daughter wasn't gonna have enough money to pay him. So then the man, like the little boy, was at the hospital and he was a doctor.
Yeah.
And, he paid for everything and he did the surgery and everything.
Cool.
And he's fine.
So this is the video. So this sounds very similar to this
Yeah, because
story.
like, then it says paid in full,
Yeah.
1 glass of milk.
So Rashawn, we said that one of the characters was a poor boy. Does he show up later in the story? Also? Who does he end up being? Yeah.
The doctor
Yeah.
helped her.
Good. He ends up being the doctor who helped her. So in the end, how does he help her in the end? How does he help the woman? Yeah.
He pays his bill.
Yes, exactly. All right, so we have about, let's take about 3 more minutes because I want us to have time. We'll add a little bit more time to that, but we want to have a few minutes for our exit slip. So what we need to look at now is thinking about, we can start with the characters or setting first, and then look at the plot. You can decide what you want to do. Yeah.
Is it a character too?
The mother? I would say, kind of like in the last one, remember how the grandmother? I would say the mother is not, do you think she's like a main character, or is she just a little bit? Like this mentioned her a little bit.
I think the setting is in a hospital.
That's cool.
Okay, and remember, use that exemplar. Use the blue one to help you too. If you're trying to remember what you need to write.
I think the climax. Wait. Conflict.
The boy, the Dr. Kelly,
Okay. So what could be right for this one?
Kelly.
Kelly. Is that a boy or a girl?
Either.
Well, in the story, who was it? Who was Dr. Kelly in the story?
The poor boy.
Yeah, it was the boy, right? So it was the poor boy that grew up.
Oh,
That's
oh, Kelly. Ain't that a girl last name?
no, that's
It can be. It can be.
That's Howard.
All right, we have 2 minutes to make sure we're really focusing in.
That's actually cool. Yeah. Well, we don't put a poor boy because that's already Dr. Kelly.
Yeah, same person.
Girl. The poor boy.
Yeah, I saw. I don't think there was any more characters. Young woman, I guess.
Yeah.
Is this one?
What is that?
The other one?
Yep.
I'll put it up here.
Oh, okay.
What's
So look
that?
at the example. You the first one is the girl named Red, and the second one is the dog. So you're gonna here you're putting what?
What do you do?
Yeah, like what do they do or what do they say? So here you're giving the details.
Can I get a blue paper?
Did you write a pen?
Yes.
No, pencil?
So I thought that was a camera.
It's okay. This one just draw like a you're already on it. And then you still have room to write it here.
Settings.
The bottom was.
Hospital. I think the setting is in a hospital.
You put the setting everywhere, right?
I know, but like,
Or back here.
in for.
Where are you putting the setting? I know where. I mean, I know where you're gonna put them. Like where?
Settings.
What? Stop.
What do you put on settings?
I don't know. What do you do?
Hospital.
Speak on.
Alright, so we did not have as much time to do this as planned, but that's okay. We're going to be flexible. Tomorrow we can have more time to finish this, alright?
Yeah.
But, and I will decide if we can do it as a group or if we need to do it on our own tomorrow.
Group is better.
Group is better? Alright. If we can really be focused, then that's good. Alright, go ahead and look at your sponge paper. So pull out your sponge and turn to the back of your sponge. Okay? It should look like this. This is where we're going to be deciding based on today only. Remember in the beginning I said it'd be really, really hard to get a green because we just started talking about this today.
What are you looking for?
What do you need, Ursula?
My sponge.
Is it underneath the pictures? Carlos, do you see a sponge? What do you do with it?
I just put it here.
It is here. Match it.
Okay. Ursula, go ahead and get a new one. Is it over there? Oh, like on. Can you see one over there? Is that yours or is that Rashawn's?
What is that?
Oh, that's Rashawn's. You took yours.
Oh, this is Carlos.
All right, let's switch. Make sure you have yours. You're correct
I
one.
think I guess.
All right, go ahead and decide where are you for today. Are you at a yellow? Are you at a green? Are you at a red? And then explain. What do you think you've been doing well? Maybe you think like, well, I know characters. I've got characters really well. Or maybe you think I understand setting really well. Carlos, speak up. All right. The next one is going to be what can you continue to work on to improve? So remember, because we just started this today, if you think that you're still a red today, that's not a bad thing. That just means we've just begun talking about it, and that we still will have a lot of practice before we can say red or green.
Yeah.
As you're doing this, make sure you're looking back at the rubric, and if you say green, read what green says. Do you think that you can do all of that?
Mm-hmm.
And explain how characters help know the plot. So explain how the characters know the plot. You think you can do that? Be more specific.
What? Be more specific. Not just everything, but what do you Alright, if you're done with your exit slip, you can go ahead and line up and turn in everything. Make sure your name is on that green paper though. As well as your competitiveness.
What do we do with this long paper?
You're going to turn in all of it?
Can it fit?
Yes. Okay, if anyone has not turned in your field trip form, it's sure you turn it in.
Oh,
That's tomorrow.
this morning.
I know, if anyone else.
What is that thing called?
It's kind of slow.
What?